Welcome, friends, to the Connected Breath Podcast, your cozy nook in the vastness of life, where sacred connection isn't just explored, it's cherished.
We're your hosts, Kara, Carrie, and Laura, inviting you to settle in like you would with your closest friends.
With heartfelt laughter, stories, and shared experiences, we honor the profound link between mind, body, and soul, all anchored in the breath that unites us. So let's take a deep collective breath and dive into connection.
We are so excited because we will be sharing our stories today. And the first one up is Kara. So Kara, tell us where your journey began and how you found breathwork.
Okay. So I found breathwork from Laura. She had been doing it for a while and had been telling me all about it, and I hadn't really been paying attention. And for some reason, I just started to pay attention and started to get very, very interested. And I will say, part of when I first started to get interested, it wasn't necessarily for myself to do breath work. I also teach Pilates, and I had been thinking or feeling for a while that there was like another layer that I could add on with clients, but I didn't know what it was. Like I enjoyed the physical aspect of, Pilates with people, but I knew that there was like a deeper level that could help people more. And I didn't know what that was. And I think my first thought when I finally started to pay attention was I need to teach that to people. Like I want to teach that to people. Really having no idea what it was like. No experience of my own on that, but that was my first thought. So that's kind of how I got started. But then obviously you need to learn, experience it before you can share with others. So that is, that's the route I went. I looked into certifications online. I wanted to do something that I could do at home at my own convenience to fit into my lifestyle. So I did find one that worked really well. And Laura, again, had some really good advice before I actually, before I actually decided to go with that certification. She said, well, why don't you take a class with that instructor, that mentor, and see if it feels like a right fit. So, which was good because I tend to just kind of jump right in and then sometimes that works out well and then sometimes it doesn't. So I took a class and it was a lot. It was in a really good way. That class, the theme of that class was purpose and fulfillment. And I hadn't chosen that class specifically. It was just the first one that I could do. And it fell on a very kind of emotional weekend for me because my nephew had died that weekend a few years back. And again, I wasn't even paying attention to that when I chose the class to take. And that class, it was the third time I had done a breathwork session, but the first time that I had done kind of a group class, and with this specific instructor. And it just blew me away because there was just so much in that class, so much stuff that got brought up. And then some of the songs that were played, it felt very synchronistic. It felt very on purpose. And the class was for purpose and fulfillment. And it just definitely solidified my choice in pursuing breathwork, but also in taking this specific certification course. It felt really kind of like divinely guided for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's super cool. I love, Kara, that you were just like drawn to a certification before you even tried breathwork. That's like just how deeply within you knew that you were going to do breathwork. I remember listening on the other end being like, I think you should try it first.
I remember saying to you, I'm going to think it's crazy, but I think I want to do it. You're probably like, whatever.
I was like, what are you talking about? I hadn't done breathwork with you. No, I didn't.
No.
You just you went ahead and did that class, and then you had that kind of like message come through, right? Didn't you have like a vision? And maybe you don't want to share that, but a vision that you knew this was where you're meant to be.
My nephew, when he died, he was only 16. So I think when I was in that class, I just started to have a lot of downloads and a lot of visions or thoughts about working with teenagers and how important it could be for them to learn some tools, some with breath work that could help them deal with the emotions and the pressures and all the different things that they deal with daily. Yeah, I wrote it all down right after the class, so I kind of can't even remember because there were so many. Like it was like you're going to start a foundation, and I don't even know what that means, and like all these different things. And I also remember, like when I was doing the class, my husband and the boys were downstairs, and I was upstairs, and I had told them, very specifically, do not come into the room and interrupt. And my youngest son did come in. And I remember at first I was like, I felt myself start to get annoyed. But then he laid down next to me and put his hand on top of my hand. And I was like, maybe this is just how it's supposed to be, And he was only there for a few minutes and then he left. Yeah, I don't know where that just came from, but it was really sweet. And but yeah, it definitely, like the downloads that were coming in were like, this is what you need to do. You need to share this with others. You need to help others. And even though I haven't specifically helped teenagers, that was the message in that class. Yet I
That's
haven't helped any yet. Maybe.
You haven't helped any teenagers?
Yeah,
Oh,
specifically.
okay.
Yet
Specifically.
with breathwork.
Right.
Yet.
It's
Yet.
coming.
Oh, I love that. What was it, Desi? Desi laid down next to you?
Yes.
That
I've
is so sweet.
actually seen that happen often with like the younger children or animals coming and just like being almost magnetic to the person who is breathing.
Yeah,
Saying, well, it's not,
animals love breath work.
yeah. And kids, right? They just know they're like attracted. So I love that. Love that sign. So where are you at with breathwork now, like with your own practice and sharing breathwork? Because you're not sharing breathwork with teenagers. Who are you sharing breathwork with?
Well, I finished the certification last spring, I think? I think it was last spring. And at first, I just wanted to work with as many different people as I could. So I, reached out to my friends and family and started offering sessions to them just so I could get used to um, just seeing how different people breathe and what came up for them. And, I did do the certification online. I've actually never done breath work with a facilitator in person. And so doing that with others in person was definitely a learning curve for me. And I know that there is a lot that goes into that kind of a class, but I kind of like teaching it online. What I've found for me anyway, when I do it, is that I like being home. Like I feel good in my home, and I like afterwards to just chill and be in my home and not have to like get up and go anywhere. So anyway, I started offering that a lot more than in person. And I started with friends and family, and then I got hired to do a retreat and some groups, friends that wanted to get together over Zoom and do some group sessions, which were really fun. And that's what I've been doing in terms of teaching, is mostly one-on-ones. And I'm in the final stages of coming up with a digital breathwork program that will hopefully be soon, very, very, very soon. And then for myself and my own breathwork journey, it is a journey, isn't it? It is. I find that I kind of go up and down with breath work, just like a lot of other things in my life, where I find myself doing it consistently as a practice and then I kind of fall off that. But I will say the breathwork patterns and what I've learned is always with me. So whenever I am feeling like my nervous system needs to calm down or get regulated, I know I can just jump right into some of those patterns to help me. So even though I may not be as consistent as I like right now, it's still definitely a part of my everyday with myself and with my sons too, trying to teach them and help them
Isn't that
navigate
like,
things
yeah,
using the
that's so
breath.
true, right? Like when life is going good, you kind of fall back into old practices maybe sometimes. And then when life is
Yeah.
hard, It's like, okay, I need to go back to my toolkit. I need to pull out my breath work. I need to eat better. I need to exercise more. I need
All
to
the
do all of those things to get back to where I was.
Mm-hmm. I do that all the
Totally.
time.
I also hear Kara. Your guys' names are confusing to me sometimes. They're too close. That what you're saying is like that practice is such an embodiment for you that even if you're not necessarily practicing it, you still are super aware of the sensations of your body and what you're
Mhm.
feeling because of breath work. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, that's
Yeah.
a
Okay.
clear way to say it for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's just what I was like, okay, I think this is what she's saying. And I relate to that a lot. So that's why I was like, oh, I totally know what you mean. Um, because yeah, breath work is something obviously the more consistently you practice it, that's great. But at the same time, it brings such a deep body awareness that, like you said, it's just with you everywhere you
Mhm.
go. And you know that you know where your nervous system is at with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
I
relate
will
to that.
share. I'll share too. One thing that I learned from my mentor that I tend to do more consistently than anything else is um, I I share this a lot on Instagram as well with people. I call it the 3-song breathwork playlist. So in terms of doing it maybe every day or as often as I can, I will make a playlist of 3 songs and just lay down and breathe for the 3 songs. And that for me is a very easy way to include it in an everyday way. You know, it's not going to be like a big deep huge session, um, but it's something and it always helps. It always makes me feel better. I did it the other day, just this 2 days ago, and I hadn't done it in so long. And it was so interesting because I was so resistant. I didn't feel like doing it. I didn't want to do it. It probably took me the whole 3 songs to actually finally settle in. But when I was done, I felt better. Like I felt a little, more clear-headed, more grounded. I felt a little frazzled all over the place, overwhelmed, and I didn't feel that way anymore. And I could just, it's so hard to explain, as we said last time. I could just feel something in my body feeling more aligned. Like it just felt better. And it was what, 12 minutes maybe? I don't know, however long the songs were. So that's something that I will do fairly consistently. Um, that I like, that I enjoy.
That's cool. I love that you said that because I think a lot of times we often are black or white thinkers. I know for myself,
Mhm.
it's like I'm either all in this, doing this every day super consistently, or like I
Mhm.
fall off the face of the earth and I don't do it. So,
Mhm.
because it's like an hour, right? Like generally, a session is
Right.
like an hour or an hour and a half, depending on how long you want to go with it. But sometimes it's like that resistance. It's like I can't do it. That's too long. So I love your three breath or your 3-song
I know.
playlist because I mean, you have time for that, right? We all have time for that. And it is
Right.
so cool the shift that you can feel in such a short time.
It
We need
is.
to show people how to breathe, right? Like we're going to do
We
that on an
do.
episode coming up after these interviews, I think, right?
Yes.
Because we keep saying it's so hard to explain. It's so hard to explain. So we
Mhm.
have an episode coming where we will take you into a little bit of breath work so that you can feel what that feels like for yourself. Kara, is there anything else that you want to share about your journey with breath work or where you're going, where you're headed with it?
I don't even, I don't want to say I have no idea, but I don't, I'm so open to where breathwork is going to take me, and I'm happy to work one on one with people more. But I know that there's some other things like on the horizon that I think will be really exciting. We all 3 of us work, well, we all offer different things in regards to breath work, but we all are going to work together to offer some workshops and things like that very soon. So that's going to be fun and exciting. And beyond that, I'm just open to see where it leads.
Thank you for sharing your journey.
Thank you for listening. It's been an honor to share this space and time with you on the Connected Breath podcast. As we part ways, remember to carry the essence of today's conversation into your world, nurturing the sacred connection within and around you.
If you have felt a spark of connection today, we invite you to become a part of our community by subscribing, sharing, and leaving us a review. Your heartfelt words and reflections mean the world to us and help others find their way to our shared journey.
Until next time, keep breathing, keep connecting, and keep living the depth of your story.